So yeah, not much good news is there going on to report. The only good news really was that Ian Huntley was attacked in prison. But even that, it's not good news, is it? It's like not, nobody's gonna weep about Ian Huntley, just like nobody's gonna weep about the Iran's supreme leader being killed. But that's not the point, is it? Yeah, they're horrible people. But it's just the state of the world, isn't it? Makes you feel a bit sad that, well, one, that those people even exist in the first place. And then, yeah, violence against Ian Huntley is still violence. It's, gosh, I'd like, I don't know how Holly and Jessica's families feel about it because they're the ones who count. Would they prefer that Huntley just rots away in a prison cell for the rest of his life? Or would they prefer that he dies because he's only got a 5% chance of surviving. Ian Huntley at the moment, 5% chance. That's what they're saying, but he's hanging on in there, isn't he? Evil always hangs on in there, doesn't it? He's like, how is he hanging on in there? Because apparently it was a very, very vicious attack. His mum went to see him. God bless his mum, because what? How must she feel about a person like him being her son? But he is her son at the end of the day. And it sounds like she hasn't forsaken him, even despite what he's done. She's still been visiting him, etc. Anyway, she said he's unrecognisable, and she sort of hopes that he dies this time because he's been attacked before. He'll get attacked again. Some people want him to survive so that he eventually will get attacked again. Um, it's just, you just don't know what to think, do you? It's a bit of a conundrum because, as I say, I'm not in favour of violence against anybody. The man who attacked him, he's not exactly a nice person, is he? His crimes are quite bad. He's done it for the kudos of he wants to be the one who has killed Ian Huntley, but he's not been nice to women and etc. So he's not some saint. Well, he wouldn't be in there, would he, in prison with Ian Huntley in the first place? But he wants the notoriety. He wants to get, suppose if you're in prison and you're not coming out for a long time, is that the only kudos you can get by killing a high-profile prisoner like Ian Huntley? So apparently Ian Huntley was not tying his shoelaces. He was bending down to do something in sort of a position as if he was tying his shoelaces. That's what the press have tried to give the impression of what he was doing when this man went up behind him and I think 15 times hit him on the head. And Huntley is still alive. He's still hanging on in there. He'll be getting the best treatment. How do these evil people hang on? He'd be terrified to go and meet his maker, Ian Huntley, because he has no idea what's waiting for him on the other side, does he? So after what he did, to those little girls, it won't be nice, will it? So maybe that's why these evil people hang on, because they do seem to hang on, don't they? Bad things happen to nice people, and when a bad thing happens to a horrible person, they hang on. How is he hanging on? Just anyway, as I say, he's got 5% of chance of recovery according to news reports. Maybe he'll have brain damage if he does recover, because we don't know. I think he's in a pretty bad condition. Maybe it would be better if he slipped away, because then, of course, he's a burden on the taxpayer apart from anything else. But he's still his mother's son. These things, these are sort of conundrums, aren't they? Nobody would shed a tear over Huntley, but what about his mum? Maybe it'd be a relief for her. She's probably felt that mother's duty of going to see him, just because he's got nobody else. I mean, who else has he got going to see him? I don't know. He's got a brother, hasn't he? But he hates his brother anyway. His brother ended up with his ex-wife. He's got a daughter, that poor girl. She wants him to pass, I think. Samantha, isn't it? His daughter, she's been very brave and came out and spoken out a few times about being Ian Huntleys daughter. You've got to feel for her, you know, because she's innocent. She hasn't done anything wrong. Might have a look at that actually while I've just got a minute. Yeah. You know, imagine finding out one day that your dad or mum is well, not serial killer, is he? You couldn't call him a serial killer. He killed 2 girls. But he probably would have gone on to kill more. That's what everybody thinks, because he positioned those girls in a way. He sort of positioned their bodies, and that's a right sign of a serial killer, isn't it? Or a fledgling serial killer. I mean, the police did well to catch him, didn't they? Yeah. So apparently Ian Huntleys daughter is glad her serial killer father was savagely beaten. And she says there's a special place in hell waiting for Dad. Let's just share that article or look at the Daily Mail article. Very sad for this girl, isn't it? You can't help but feel for her, because to just sort of find out one day that that's who your father is must be awful. So Ian Huntleys daughter is glad her serial killer father was savagely beaten, and she says there's a special place in hell waiting for him. So Samantha, 27 years old, said she cried from relief when she discovered the convicted murderer had been attacked in prison, as she thought that meant he was dead. Huntley, 52, is still quite young, isn't it? Feels like this was ages ago. Was rushed to, must have been young. He must have been younger than Samantha when he committed these crimes. Attacked by a fellow inmate at a recycling workshop at HMP Franklin in County Durham on Thursday morning. So the inmate who killed 10-year-old girls Holly Wells and Jessica in 2002, 24 years ago, and he's 52 now. Does that mean he was 26 or something when he did it? So yeah, similar age to his daughter. Gosh. So Miss Bryan, who is Huntley's only child, told the Sun on Sunday, being his daughter has been a heavy burden. I felt like I could breathe again. Yeah, so I suppose if he died, it means she wouldn't have to think about him anymore in the same way. So the inmate who killed 10-year-old girls, Holly and Jessica, in 2002 is in hospital on life support in a medically induced coma. So this poor girl, she only discovered he was her father during a school project on crime. Imagine that. So she's doing a school project on crime when she's 14, and she came across a blurry picture of her mother with him online. And her mum, Katie Bryan, 45. So bear in mind that she's 7 years younger than Huntley. He liked young girls, didn't he? Like Maxine Carr. She was younger than him. She also looks even younger. She's got that very young girl look about him. Ian Huntley liked young girls. So her mum, Katie Bryan, 45, was in a relationship with him when she was aged 15, and she became pregnant at 16 before fleeing to escape his brutal clutches. And she said, I think he got what he deserves. I hope he burns in hell. I'd like to shake the hand of the man who did it. So, as you can see, she's a very beautiful girl. She looks like Ian Huntley, but she's got like, she's just. I know that she said at one point she feels sometimes when she looks herself in the mirror she can see him. She does look like him, but she's got the best of him, if you like. She's a very pretty girl. I just don't know. This is what some people have to live with. It's quite scary, isn't it? Poor girl. So we haven't got any recent pictures of Ian Huntley, really. All these pictures that are online, they're quite old pictures. Apparently he's put on a lot of weight. So Huntley is one of Britain's most notorious inmates. He was jailed for life in 2003, having denied and lied about his involvement in the killings of Holly and Jessica in a brutal 6-week trial. Yeah, because that's apart from what he did to them, which obviously is horrible, but he then put the families through this 6-week trial because he pled not guilty. So they had to go through all the gory details. He's shown no consideration for the family whatsoever. No remorse. He truly is a vile man. So Miss Bryan from Cleethorpes, Lincolnshire, wrote to him in prison multiple times from 2019 onwards, after she discovered he was her father, asking if they could meet. He replied, acknowledging her as his daughter and expressing his love for her, but repeatedly denied her request. She had hoped to have a face-to-face meeting with him, not to give him forgiveness, but to uncover the truth about the murders. And in a chilling handwritten letter reported by The Sun in 2024, Huntley turned her down, saying, I doubt there will be enough time for a significant shift in circumstances in order for us to ever meet. He's a coward. That's why he doesn't want to meet her. He doesn't want to meet her because he doesn't want to face up, to what he's done. He is a complete coward. Miss Bryan said at the time, it made her give up any hope of discovering the truth and step away for the sake of my sanity and my future, after the letter confirmed his something character. I presume that's shitty, I don't know. She said he did not want to give her any answers about the murders, as that's the only way he can get attention. He's shown he's a pitiful, twisted, manipulative coward, she said at the time. And although relieved she will never meet him, she is also angry and sad. She will never get the answers she craved for Holly and Jessica's families. Her mother, also from Cleethorpes, who also has 3 other daughters from a later relationship, was seduced by Huntley, then 23, when she was only 15. She alleged he RAP'd, AB'd and degraded her throughout the underage relationship. God, he really is a horrible. There's a lot, you know what? He is a horrible person, isn't he? He poured scorn over this account in his letter to his daughter in 2024, denying he ever laid a finger on her mother. I wonder who you'd believe. Would you believe Ian Huntley or would you believe her mother? I wonder. So it left Miss Bryan stunned when she read it. But she said she would never doubt her mother, and she feels he was trying to manipulate her. It had nothing to do with my mum, and there was no need to bring her into it at all, she said. The news of Huntley's attack in prison came to Miss Bryan's mother via a call from her family friend who had read of it online. It left her sick to the stomach, but immediately she phoned her daughter to let her know. And Miss Bryan said, genuinely, for a second, I felt like the little girl I was before I knew anything about him. I mean, that must have just changed her life completely. I'm glad she's got stepsisters. You know, it sounds like she's got family. Okay. She even went as far to compare her father to notorious serial killers Fred and Rose West and prolific murderer Peter Sutcliffe, known as the Yorkshire Ripper. Both Miss Bryan, who now works as a beautician, and her mother, a finishing operative, think Huntley was attacked as revenge for his horrific crimes, and she said he also attributes it to what she sees as his inherently cowardly and evil nature. Her mother, who has previously been brutally attacked for her links to Huntley, fears that in his final moments he will ask for his daughter to visit him at his bedside. Well, maybe it's good he's in a coma then. Hopefully he'll just slip away, because the problem is if he does ask her to be there, she'd have to go. I think she'd go, because she would be hoping that he would, give some revelation about the murders or whatever. So despite her best efforts to put it from her mind, she was always hoped the pair would never meet. She does not want her beautiful daughter to be tainted by him, and she said she prays Huntley never wakes up so it never has to happen. So this latest attack on Huntley is at least the third time he's been attacked behind bars, and he has also tried to take his own life twice. Miss Bryan's mother said it sickened her that he might take the truth about Holly and Jessica's murders to the grave. And the girls' parents, she said, deserve to know what really happened, and they are always in her thoughts. He's never going to say what really happened, is he? But she said that even if he does not die from this attack, she thinks it's unlikely he will ever confess what really happened. So, Samantha has previously said she was begging her father to find the courage to finally tell the truth. I've asked to meet him face to face so he can tell me in his own words. And she told of how her life had been poisoned by the Sower murders. I've undergone counselling and it has impacted everything from my jobs to relationships. I've suffered constant nightmares. People still stop me in the street and say, your father is a monster, or I know who your dad is. So by meeting him, I have nothing to lose. There's Holly and Jessica, best friends. Absolute best friends. And, who knows what. I mean, the thing is, he definitely sort of tried to he got them in the house by telling them that Maxine Carr, his girlfriend, who wasn't there at the time, but he said she was there upstairs in the bath. I think he said to them probably, do you want to come in? And she'll be down in a minute. And then as soon as he got them in the house, then everything would have gone. I mean, he's a little, he's a horrible little man. He could only have power over children or, women that are vulnerable, young girls, because he's just like a little pipsqueak, isn't he? And then, of course, he interjected himself into the searches and everything. He was interviewed by the media. Anyway, finally, he was caught. So she says that the main comment I used to get was the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, which has always cut very deeply because I am the absolute opposite. What a horrible thing to say to her. When I was younger, I worried that everyone would think that and I would become isolated. Even with relationships, I've had people leave me and make comments about him and my connection to him. It was hard. And from the moment I discovered the connection, he's become a bogeyman like the Yorkshire Ripper or Fred West. And she says, I wanted to know for myself if my father feels any remorse. I want to tell him the truth. So I want him to tell the truth so I can pass that on to the families of Holly and Jessica, as they're very much on my mind, she said. Knowing their families have never been given the truth causes me profound sadness. I think about it more often than I should. And in a 2003 interview with the Mail on Sunday, Holly's parents, Kevin and Nicola Wells, said his cowardly refusal to tell the truth had left them in a never-ending torment of uncertainty as to what really happened in their daughter's final minutes. They had many questions, the kind which unanswered can eat away at your soul. Oh. In court, Huntley said both girls died accidentally. So this was the crap story that he came up with. One of them had a nosebleed. Didn't he say one of them had a nosebleed? But they died accidentally. Holly drowned in the bath, and he inadvertently suffocated Jessica while trying to stop her screaming. But in 2018, he confessed to deliberately killing Jessica to stop her from raising the alarm. He still insists Holly's death was a main target, maybe. And yeah, well, the thing is, he couldn't attack both of them at the same time, could he? So it seems like perhaps he was maybe he was attacking Holly and Jeff. And yeah, you know, he must have just lost his mind. He was very angry. That's something as well. I think we need to discuss that when those poor girls, just by, being in the wrong place at the wrong time, walked past his house, he'd just been on the phone to Maxine, who was staying away at her mother's, and they'd had a terrible argument. He was fuming because he's a very jealous, controlling man. And he was so angry with Maxine because Maxine, he was wondering what she was up to. So when these poor girls sort of stumbled across his path, he was incandescent with rage. Because otherwise, you've got to think, how did he ever think that he would get away with it? He didn't think, did he? He was so angry. He was so angry and carried away. He just didn't think. Hey, Julie, happy Monday, happy March, and happy Monday. White rabbits. I should have done that yesterday, but I forgot. Yeah, so he was so angry when these two girls turned up at the door or walked past the door. I mean, we don't know for certain. He said he was washing the dog outside when they walked past. But did they? I don't know. Maybe he saw them going past and he came out to them. That seems more likely to me. It seems more likely to me that he's just got off the phone with Maxine. He's fuming. He's got all this, resentment simmering in him. And he's seen the girls walk past and he's probably gone to the door and shouted them. That seems more likely to me, to be honest. So, yeah, he said they died accidentally. But in 2018, he did confess to deliberately killing Jessica to stop her from raising the alarm, but he still insists Holly's death was an accident. So I think, personally, I'd look at that and I'd just think Holly's death definitely was not an accident. And I think it's quite likely that something more happened to Holly and maybe to both of them than murder. There was some sex assault. So his daughter, Miss Bryan, she was only 4 years old when he killed the schoolgirls. And so she was 14 when she found out that he was her father. Doctors are said to be shocked that Huntley has survived this latest attack so far after he sustained severe injuries, including brain damage, a broken jaw and skull fractures. And multiple prison sources suspect that Anthony Russell, a 43-year-old triple murderer and RAPIST, also serving a life sentence, was the attacker. Yeah, so this guy, he's not a nice guy, and it shouldn't be celebrated that he's done that. It makes you wonder, do you think the prison guards turn a blind eye to things like this because obviously they've saved his life? It just makes you wonder, do they give them a chance to do things? Because, people get very upset about child killers. I don't know who this guy's killed, but he's killed 3 people. Um, but there's even horrible killers don't like child killers, do they? But I don't think he's done it for that reason, to be honest. I think this guy's just done it because it's a kudos that he'll get in prison. He's in prison for life. It's almost like that's the only way he can, what's the word, he can, it's the only bit of fame he can get. Do you know what I mean? Because he's probably going to be put in solitary confinement now himself because they can't have him in the general prison population just doling out justice where he feels like it. So he's certainly going to be in solitary confinement for a long, long time, kept away from the other prisoners because he could do it to someone else. Anyway, so he's said to have showed no remorse for the bludgeoning, which rendered Huntley unrecognisable even to his own mother, who visited him in a hospital. And a source has now told of the unbelievably savage nature of the attack, saying it was more savage than has so far been reported. Apparently he was bending down, tying some string onto a recycling crate, so he was in a position like you'd be when tying your shoelaces. And people who saw it say he was battered around 15 times. He just kept hitting and hitting him. And the source said that many fellow prisoners knew the attack was coming and had even discussed it the night before it happened, but none of them, however, stepped in to help, leaving staff to intervene with officers and inmates thinking he was dead. And then Russell was handcuffed and led smirking towards a prison chapel, and he's understood they continued to have proudly admitted the attack in police interviews and expressed his disappointment he did not kill him. So the Category A prison was locked down after the brawl, with officers searching cells for weapons and fears of similar ambushes. And it comes amid reports that Huntley's head was split in two by the attack, which saw Russell boast, I've done it, I've killed him," as he was led away. And a source told the Mirror he is likely to be isolated from other inmates for several years following the attack. I mean, this is the problem with life sentence prisoners. They've got nothing to lose, have they? They've got nothing to lose. He's in prison for life anyway. What they're going to do, give him another life sentence? It's like, it's horrible, really, isn't it? I mean, I understand, I believe in life sentences, but it does create that problem if somebody hasn't got, I mean, I don't know if he's ever got any chance of parole or not. He won't have it now. He won't have any chance of parole now. But, it's, prisoners that are in prison for life, that is their life and they know it. And so, they're going to do things like that because there's nothing more can be done to them. So because it's a serious assault, he'll be moved to a segregation unit, they said, and he'll probably just be held there for the foreseeable, certainly because you can't go around either trying to kill another prisoner or killing other prisoners. So he'll probably be in the segregation unit for the next 5-10 years. I mean, the thing is, as well, if he managed to get a weapon that could create that damage, it's not only what he might do to other prisoners, what about the prison guards? So a Durham constabulary spokesperson said a 52-year-old man remains in hospital in a serious condition. And Huntley's mother, Linda Richards, 71, told her friends, "Part of me hopes he dies, and she just wants to be free of it." She made a secret trip, escorted by a prison service liaison officer and a friend, to his bedside, travelling 175 miles from her home in Lincolnshire on Thursday. God, it's awful, isn't it? Because I'm sure that when Ian Huntley was born, she was probably glad to have a baby. People normally have children because they want them, don't they? And look how this has turned out for her. Not only is the murder of these two beautiful little girls, and she's had to live with, being his mother, but he is still her son. So she's obviously still in contact with him in one way or another. So a source told the Sun she knows that few will mourn his passing if he dies, but she said she's still his mother. So there'll be a guilt there as well for you, the one that brought them into the world. Oh, so they remember that photo. I think we can all remember that photo was all over the media, wasn't it? Of the girls in their matching Manchester United tops. Even David Beckham made an appeal. 'Cause he was their favourite player. Yeah, that's an iconic photo, isn't it? I think most of us will remember that if you're British, and even all over the world. And of course, Jessica, see this braid in her hair. She'd only just come back from holiday, hadn't she? She'd only just come back from holiday. She'd had her hair braided. They went round. She went round to Holly's, where they were having a family. They were having a barbecue, weren't they? And then at some point, these two girls just decided to go out and buy some sweets, and nobody knew that they'd gone out because it was all going on. And it should have been did probably what they've done a million times. Popped out to the local shops to buy some sweets, and there was evil waiting for them. He saw them going past and he's come to the door or shouted them or something. He says he was outside washing the dog. But these are things we'll just never know because only Ian knows. Because and these two girls aren't. He killed them. So there's only Ian can tell the truth about what happened. But the problem with Ian is, could you believe anything he said, even if he did decide to tell? Oh, is this a video of his daughter? Let's have a look. Yeah, so she's a victim too. His daughter is a victim. Just by virtue of him being her father, she's a victim, I think. And having to live with his legacy. Oh, it's not. I don't think it's coming on, so we'll just go down and read it. So the assault was harrowing for the insider said, and Miss Richards only heard about it from a friend who saw it on the news. I don't think that's going to play that.
In July 2016, the Mail on Sunday revealed that Soham child killer Ian Huntley had a secret daughter called Samantha Bryan. Samantha only discovered the appalling truth 4 years earlier when, aged 14, she came across a story about Huntley online, which was accompanied by a picture of herself and her mother. Now Samantha wants to find out what really happened to Holly Wells and Jessica, crime that horrified the nation.
I decided to write to my biological father, Ian Huntley, because it's now been 20 years since his conviction, and I believe that it is time that he finally told us the truth. Holly Wells and Jessica Chapman, brave with, and kindred people know what happened. My help was way. I don't think he should ever be freed. What he did was unthinkable, and for that, I don't think he deserves to be let out. Absolutely no forgiveness at all. Being Ian Huntley's daughter has impacted my life in many different ways. My childhood was hugely impacted by this. My relationships, work, friendships, I suffered nightmares. I had people shouting at me and confronting me in my work. Mum for Maxine Carr impact. I think about what happened to Holly and Jessica far more often than what people would think I do. To not know what really happened, it deeply upsets me, and truth impacts.
Came to trial, to the parents.
I was
Now, of course,
11.
Maxine Carr, she's free now. She's free. She's given a new life, new identity. Apparently she's married, got children, or at least one child herself. You know, a lot of people think that's wrong because although she had nothing to do with the actual murders, she definitely helped to cover up.
That was when I found out who I thought was my biological father wasn't. My mum sat me down on her bed and explained to me that I had two dads and that my biological father was a bad man. And at the time, that was all I was really aware of. I was 14, I believe, when I was sat in class. We was Googling the crime rates in the area, and that's when I saw the article come up. I didn't pay any attention to the article until I saw a very bit away. I recognised the clothes that we were wearing, and I remember very, very clearly having that photo taken. And so I left school. I went home and confronted. So the intention was there for her to hide it until I was older than it became public knowledge. I'm not too sure how other people found out. I don't know if it was they maybe saw the same photo and recognised me, or recognised my mum. Which has always cut very deep with me because I am the absolute opposite.
Internet's all glitchy this morning, but anyway, I hope you can hear most of it.
Emotions related to this specifically, I still find it very hard to deal with, and this is also a part of the reason that I wrote to him as well. Because I feel like I need to fully process this. Just don't want to keep feeling how I'm feeling. So for me, closure as well. Dear Ian, I'm about this, but very difficult for me through the years to connect. A lot of questions I want to ask you, as I feel a tired of things I have been told by others. I'm pleading with you to finally reveal the truth about the murders. is to face with him will allow and move forward. And I also hope to find out the truth about what really happened and try and give Holly and Jessica's parents to sit in front of him just to move with who he is, what he's done. And if I can get the truth off him at the same time, I think that'll help a lot more people than just my.
So yeah, very brave girl. I think, what a horrible legacy for her. She's done nothing wrong. He just happens to be her father. So she's tried to get the truth out of him. So the reason that we're talking about this is, of course, Ian Huntley, as far as we know, is still in critical condition in hospital on a life support machine, 5% chance of recovering after that vicious attack that he's recently suffered. And then that just brought us on to talking about his daughter, Sam, who found out at the age of 14 she was doing a crime project at school and came across a photo of him with her and her mum and recognised the photo. That's how she found out that Ian Huntley was her father at 14 years old, because her mother had been waiting for the right time to tell her, and when is the right time? Anyway, she seems like, such a lovely girl, despite who her father is. And of course, she wasn't brought up by him. Him and her mum had already split up. And she was, in fact, her mum had to flee him. Her mum was only 16 when she got pregnant, because Ian Huntley liked young girls, didn't he? And she was brought up by her mum's new partner, who she always thought was her dad himself. I think she said 2 years, was she 11 or 12, when her mum sat her down and said to her, look, that he isn't your biological dad. Your dad is a bad man. She did say to her, your dad is a bad man, but she didn't know who he was until she was 14. So, she's another victim of Ian Huntley, isn't she? So there's a third victim, apart from the families of Holly and Jessica. Huntley's got a lot of victims. So nobody's shedding a tear over Huntley if he dies, except he has never told the truth. Is there any chance that she's tried to get the truth off him? He won't meet her. He hasn't even met her. And it was her that was pleading with him to meet him, because she was hoping she could get some more information from him about what really happened that day, to help Holly and Jessica's families, because they're in this never-ending sort of happened. But Huntley's never coward. He's a coward. He's probably never going to tell. And it seems like at the moment, if he does die after this attack, he will probably just slip away. He probably won't regain consciousness, because he's got quite severe brain injuries, I believe, head injuries. But it will, although him dying, he'll be taking his secrets to the grave if he does die. It also must leave a bit of peace, knowing that, because it must always be going through their heads, like the family's heads and Samantha's head. Maybe he will tell. Maybe he will tell. Maybe he'll come round. You're always looking for a redeeming feature in people, aren't you? And then if he dies, just knowing that can't ever happen is a peace in itself, I suppose, because you won't be thinking every day, oh, I wonder if he will tell, or I wonder if he'll come round, I wonder if he'll find God, or you won't be. It's an end to a chapter, at least, isn't it? Yeah, but I can't believe he's hanging on. But evil people do hang on. He's probably terrified of crossing over to the other side. God knows what's waiting for him anyway. He'll have to face it one day. Anyway, thank you for watching. So, yeah, I just came on to do a chat. Wasn't really going particularly in this direction of talking about Ian Huntley and his daughter, but it just sort of came up I'm going to tidy up that video. I'm going to put it out as a video in itself. And yeah, my heart goes out to Samantha, as well as, of course, Holly and Jessica's families, who have got their own life sentence to live. You know, they'll never recover from what happened to them. It was a horrible case, wasn't it? It was one of those cases. And this is even before social media. I'm glad there wasn't social media then. There'd be there was already conspiracy theories, wasn't there, about what might have happened to them. You know, it would have probably, it was bad enough. It probably would have been a million times worse if there was social media then. But despite the fact there was no social media, it was still a case that the whole world more or less knows about. I was in Spain at the time. I'd already left to come here to live in Spain, but I remember it as clear as anything. And that iconic picture of those little girls in the Manchester United shirts, that's something I think, you know, I think I've got a picture here, yeah, just to put up in the corner. That's something people will never forget, is it? And and it's funny because they had that picture taken underneath the clock, so the time was right there on the clock as well. And that was their last picture, bless them. Anyway, so yeah, interesting, isn't it, about Samantha, you know? So she seems like a very level-headed girl, and she's turned out well despite him, not because of him. Seems like mum's made a good job, and her stepdad of bringing her up. So I hope she's okay and she manages to get through it all. I'll see you really soon in the next video. Thank you for watching. Have a great day or afternoon or evening. Here we are in March. Let's hope things get better. And I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, as always, may your God go with you. Hi, pie in the sky. I'm just going now. Okay, thank you. Bye.